This episode may contain mature content. Listener discretion is advised. Content warnings can be found in the episode description.
Hey, we are the Lab Doctors. I'm Amanda.
I'm Dorothy.
And I'm Zhao Yong.
We are biomedical researchers who realized we still have a lot to learn about science.
So why not join us on this quest?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lab Doctors podcast. So today we'll be talking about
The forgotten baby syndrome. Have you all heard of this term?
I'm just like, is it my sibling died when I was young and then I forgot about
I think
it?
it's more of like dumpster baby. Like I gave birth and then I throw the baby into the trash bin, and that's where other parents find babies. And that's how I got picked up from the rubbish bin.
Okay. I have no idea.
Okay, so the forgotten baby syndrome, in short, FPS, which is fetal bovine serum, we call it in the lab. But yes, in short, FPS is a scenario whereby a child comes to injury by being unintentionally left in a car.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. So because the car overheats, is it?
Yes. Okay, so yeah, it appears in the news and actually it's not that uncommon. So according to a study by Booth et al. Done in Italy, they identified 192 cases of children left unattended from 1999 to 2007. So that's 9 years, and that will be an average of about 21 cases a year. Out of the 192 cases of children that were left unattended. Okay, so they started counting in 1999 because I think in 1997 or 8, it was like the airbag regulation started. So they put babies at the back of the car instead of at a passenger seat. Yeah, because airbags are not good for babies.
Like in case it comes out, it will like smash the babies.
No, I think it will suffocate the baby.
Oh, okay.
Whichever is worse, I do not know. Like forgetting a baby in a car. But yeah, so out of these 192 cases, 13% was unattended intentionally, 75.5% was unintentionally left unattended, and the intentions were unclear for the rest. I don't know what that means.
Wait, so there were people who intentionally left babies
It
in
could
cars?
be like, I just need to run down and get something.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave my baby there.
So obviously it's not relevant to us because we don't have children now, but like for those of you who have and for those of you who will be having, obviously there aren't many studies that have looked into why this phenomenon occurs. But it is important because it comes to negligence and even death due to negligence, and the parents or caretakers can be charged in court.
Right.
Oh.
Okay, so why I wanted to do this topic was because I came across this again, another Facebook video on like this court case where this guy called, you can search it up, it's called Juan, Juan. He unintentionally left his twin daughters in the car and they both died eventually. They suffered hyperthermia and then they died. So by the time he went back to the car, they were already like dead.
The word.
Okay, this is not supposed to be a laughing thing. It's supposed to be sad. But yeah.
Yes. Sometimes we laugh. It's not because we find it funny. It's our coping mechanism for these things.
That's my coping mechanism for sure. All my friends know.
Yeah, okay. That's why it's like so controversial when a spouse or when a caretaker is charged in court for killing their child unintentionally, leaving them in the car, right? Then it becomes contentious. Like they have to see if this person did not do it intentionally. Then would they charge him or not because their child died?
Right. So it's like you must prove that it's
Completely
negligence.
Unintentional. And then do you charge for negligence and death due to negligence? Because it's still a death ultimately or injury, right? Which is quite severe.
Right.
So why this case was like quite I don't know about other cases because I didn't read all the cases, but like this case caught my attention because in the video, the wife at court, right, was still like very loving to the husband in court. And I just cannot imagine like if my spouse left the kid and the kid died in the car, like would I still be so loving to my spouse? Because I would be like probably full of hatred and like it would just never be the same again. Yeah, so this scene at court was like quite interesting because yeah, she still was very loving to the husband and she can completely empathize, and there's this like it looks like she forgave and she don't want her husband to be like charged in court at all.
Wait, so who's pressing charges?
You're treating it like manslaughter because it's like a loss of life.
How often is the person who is on trial not the parent? Do they say?
Yeah, they do say. I think so far they just look at whether it's male or female. I think
I'm interested to find out.
Because Dorothy keeps saying caretaker.
probably caregiver a bit less. Apparently in the Italy one, they only find either father or mother or both parents were at fault.
Oh.
Both parents.
Okay.
I'm ready for the reasons to blow my mind and convince me.
I hope it does. Okay, so so it's not relevant to us, but it's actually still relevant to us because it applies to every other thing that we want to do as well.
Okay.
Correct? Because every day we plan to do something.
Right.
And so in this case, it's just they plan to drop off the kid maybe at the daycare or something, but they didn't. Okay, so when we talk about memory, right, do you think of it as the past or present?
Past, right?
Yeah, same.
Same. So I always thought of memory as the past, but there's a future part of memory. So today, let's aim to break it down. We will draw up a scenario together, try to come up with answers for what happened in our scenario as well as what happened in the forgotten baby syndrome case. Okay, so now let's think of a scenario. Like, what do you all want to do?
Like today or like forever? For the rest of time?
No, like a task that you all want to do that's out of the norm.
Oh, out of... Oh my God, has my life been so habitual that I don't do anything spontaneous?
I want to go have dinner with friends that I haven't met up with in a year.
Okay.
You want to do that? Okay.
It's a hypothetical, okay? It doesn't have to be real.
Okay. Let's go with that.
Or I'm obligated to. It doesn't matter. The intention doesn't matter.
Yes. Okay.
I plan to. Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, I plan to go for dinner with a friend or friends that I haven't met up with in a year.
Okay.
Okay, so we have two types of memory, the retrospective memory and the prospective memory.
Yes.
So the retrospective memory first. This can be split into the explicit and implicit forms. Okay, so explicit retrospective memory involves the conscious cognitive effort of the storage and retrieval phases of memory processing. So if you don't know what's cognitive, because I had to Google what is cognition. It's the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. So this includes remembering someone's birthday or like phone number. So in the case of meeting your friends,
Yes.
what would be an explicit memory?
It is my friend's birthday today.
Right.
I remember where I met this friend and why we are friends. And is remembering where we're meeting
Yes.
also.
Yep.
Yeah. And the time that we're meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Those are
nice.
my explicit
Great.
retrospective memories.
Yes. Okay, so in the forgotten baby syndrome, any guesses?
As in guesses to what the explicit memories would be, or...
Yeah. Okay, so the scenario is you are supposed to go to work, but on the way, drop your baby at the daycare.
Okay.
I remember where the daycare is.
Yeah.
I remember that my baby goes to this daycare.
Yep.
And
The timing, like when to drop them off.
Yep. And including like the route to drive to work.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, very good. I was so scared that y'all can't do this, and then I would do this myself. Okay, then we have the implicit memory. So this includes the habitual memory. Example would be like maintaining a balance when riding a bike, driving a car. These are like already instilled in you. You don't need to be reminded.
Yep.
So in our scenario of meeting a friend's birthday,
I guess it would be things like eating and drinking,
Walking.
walking there, yeah.
yeah.
Direction. I feel if it's a place that you go to quite often,
Yeah.
like sometimes your brain just shuts down and you
Yeah.
automatically know how to go there.
Yeah, it's like when we walk home, right? You can just look at your phone and walk.
Yeah.
So in the case of the dropping a baby off at the daycare,
What would be the implicit? The driving, the direction,
I guess, yeah, it
Yeah.
could be the route.
the route. Yeah.
the route, yeah. The route to work would
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, the driving for sure. I always zone out.
Yeah.
I mean, not zone out as in don't pay attention, but I don't pay attention to the fact that I'm driving, you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't pay
like-
attention
or like-
as much when you are driving a route you already know.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the retrospective memory. Now on to the prospective memory. This is an extension of the retrospective memory that involves the use of stored information in our brains to plan and execute something that's going to happen in the future.
Right.
So in our case of going to the birthday party,
It would be to go there. I guess I haven't gone there. So it's like the planning phase of me getting to the place and like, what am I going to order?
What time to leave?
Yeah, exactly.
When to get.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
yeah, so you have to use all the information, you know, like, okay, today's my friend's birthday, what time the restaurant we book, that kind of thing. And then you
Yeah.
plan what you want to execute
Yeah.
in the future.
Okay.
And then after that, you need to actually remember to do the work.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. So you need to remember to leave. When you say you want to leave at 6:30, you must remember at 6:30 you need to leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so in the case of dropping the child at the daycare, this would involve like planning.
Yeah.
What route you need to take to drop off your baby at the daycare, like which is a detour from going to work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what time you need to leave work, etc., etc. lah.
I feel like this is a lot of planning. the planning phase of when I'm going to execute something.
Okay.
So usually the tasks that we want to do involve something that we already know, like walking, right? And then when we do the task that we already know, it brings us into this autopilot mode, which I also think is called muscle memory. And we'll only remember to do a certain task when we get some form of cue. So that means like my alarm ring at 6:30 or something just triggered my brain to remember that I need to leave. That kind of thing. Or like in the case of the baby would be like, let's say you set Google Maps to go to the daycare. You might like forget that you're actually driving to a daycare until you hear Google remind you that you're turning instead of like going straight and then or actually arriving at destination.
Okay.
Interestingly, and in fact, right, most memory lapses are failures of prospective memory. So you might think like actually we always say, we forget what happened in the past. But actually I feel like after reading this, right, I realized that yes, I always forget to do something. Do you all feel like it?
Oh yes. Every day I always set like a few reminders in my phone to like pack clothes tomorrow because we're going to exercise, do this experiment and reminders on my phone.
Oh, the
my
pack
life.
clothes for exercise. Last time I remember like when y'all say in the chat, like, hey, remember pack clothes. Then I'll be like, oh yes, I need to pack clothes.
Yeah.
So it's when I get a cue, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
If not, I would have like autopilot my day without like just going to sleep without packing my clothes.
Right. I feel like this happens to me very often. I'm not sure whether or not it's the ADHD, but like I feel like it probably is. Because like I can remember, I need to take something, go to the toilet, come back and just completely forget.
Oh yeah, I think everyone goes through that.
Normal.
Yes. So good thing you raised that up because there are studies that were done to find out what contributed to the failure of prospective memory. So there are 6 factors.
Okay, so what are the 6 things?
So the absence of reminder cues,
Right.
distractions, like going to your toilet. Okay, I'll go through that later. Habitual behavior, multitasking, sleep deprivation, and stress.
Yep.
Okay, so reminders, that one we do very often, right? And of course, if we miss the reminder or if we ignore the reminder, then we would likely forget what we need to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and then distraction. So like let's say
Someone calls you while you're driving to the daycare.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in the birthday scenario would be like, let's say your experiment failed today and you need to repeat it. And then you'll be like, I need to finish my experiment. Then you forget to go to your friend's birthday party.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when someone is doing something out of habitual behavior or the autopilot mode, it triggers a form of inattentional blindness, such that the awareness of the intention is lost because a person's attention is focused on other features of the environment.
Oh yeah, I can totally see this happening. Like I usually go home after work, but then today I'm supposed to go to my friend's place. But then when I get on the bus, I'm like already headed home.
Yeah.
And then before I know it, I'm like,
I get what you mean. Sometimes when I'm taking a train that is going a certain direction, I will exit at a stop where I'm supposed to stop at to go to work.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, what am I doing?
totally.
Yeah. Okay, so multitasking, they didn't really explain, but I interpreted it in my own words. It's like getting distracted, on the contrary of being habitual or in the autopilot mode. So I feel like, when you multitask, it's like you're essentially trying to do many things at one go and you easily get distracted from what you wanted to do. So that makes you forget things. And then for sleep deprivation, one study found that 25 hours of sleep deprivation caused participants to have lower performance and they could only perform less resource-demanding prospective memory tasks.
25 hours per week in general?
I think it's
'Cause
just
I'm pretty sure.
as in just like I don't let you sleep for a day.
I
think so.
Right.
As in like you stay awake for 25 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
got it.
Okay, and in terms of stress, a study compared 19 chronic stress outpatients and 19 matched controls. And they tasked them on various cognitive tests like processing speed, attention, and storing information for the short and long term. Not surprisingly, chronic stress caused one to be less able to store memory in the short term and to carry out prospective memory tasks, but they were still able to process speed measurements as quickly as the controls. Okay, so that sums up our 6 factors which cause the failure of prospective memory. And actually, like for us, it's not very severe, the consequences. Like if we really forget to go to our friend's birthday party, then we just miss our friend's birthday. But like in the case of forgetting your baby and the baby dying, it's like pretty severe lah. Okay, so the 6 things, right, help us understand how you can forget your baby in the moment. Correct? But how do caretakers or parents forget their babies for so many hours?
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Like you can forget that you need to do something for the child or with the child at the moment, but to continue forgetting, that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so of course the stars must really align for everything to happen. Like there's no other triggers. There's distractions at work, where you park your car. The weather must be super hot that day, or maybe don't need to be super hot, but yeah. And then there's no passerby that actually knock on the window.
Right, what do you do when you see that?
Call 911.
Oh, okay.
I mean, sorry, what's the emergency number?
999?
Here in Singapore?
In Singapore. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, in the US. Okay, so there is an interesting phenomenon known as false memory. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, what is false memory?
I feel like I experienced false memory before because sometimes I feel like I did something but I actually didn't do it. Okay, so it's like maybe I actually did something before.
Okay.
But I superimpose what I did on that day to like maybe today. So like let's say the parents, it might not be their first time dropping the kid off at the daycare. They might have been doing it like weekly, like once a week or something. But things change every week. Some of the cases, it's not that they don't do it like often enough. But because things change like every week, maybe the work situation change or what, such that it's not routine for them to drop off the baby or for some reason. And then there's a lot of distractions and a lot of stress, that kind of thing. So then they forget to drop off their baby. Okay, so like that means they could remember that they actually dropped off their baby that day, but it could be a memory of something that happened last week.
Yep.
Okay, so this false memory phenomenon was first studied by Deese, D-E-S-E, and followed up by Rodriguez and McDermott, and so now they call it the Deese, Rodriguez, McDermott false memory paradigm.
Okay.
Okay, so yesterday I tasked Amanda and Chao Yong to do this.
Oh, right. Okay.
Read up on a list. I gave them like about 33 words, okay, to remember, and they're all from the same theme.
Healthcare.
Okay, now which of the following words was not in the list?
Oh my god.
Was it nurse, doctor, or surgeon?
Nurse was in the list.
Doctor?
I feel like doctor, but I don't know if...
Actually, I think all three were in.
Really?
There were so many words.
Yeah, there were so many words.
All three were in.
Okay, I only know nurse is in, so are we supposed to come with a consensus?
No, it's fine if you have different answers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you can... I'm only sure about nurse.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I saw all three. If not, then surgeon is not inside.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm so glad Chao Yong got it wrong. If not, like, it's damn funny, yeah. So I gave them a list of words that included like nurse and surgeon, but doctor is not in.
Okay.
And so basically,
I should have gone with your gut, the initial one.
So basically, in this study, like, they got people to memorize a list of words that share a common theme, right? And apparently, there's a high percentage of people who recalled that the word doctor was in by list of association. So there's like nurses, and then I put in surgeon, and I put in like surgery, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But doctor is not inside. So then, in this case, like by association, they create a false memory that they remember reading doctor in the list of words. Yeah, so that's how the false memory formed in the case of the caretakers forgetting to drop off their kids. And this false memory can last for a long time after it has been formed, from even hours to overnight. Okay, so the last part of today would be to put it more into basic science. So now we've just been talking about memory. So this study highlights the parts of the brain that are involved in memory. There are, number one, the frontal and parietal cortices.
Yeah, cortices.
This is the plural of cortex.
Cortex, yeah.
So the frontal and parietal cortices, or in short F/PC, these are, I'll just give you a pictorial thing, and I don't know how accurate I am also because I'm like, the brain is too complex. But like, these are nearer your forehead and the top of your head. Okay, the parts of your brain. So these are involved in strategizing, planning for the future, and maintaining a representation of an intention. Without this part of the brain, one would have great difficulty in planning and strategizing about the future and in multitasking. Okay, the next one is the hippocampus. So the hippocampus, which is somewhere in the middle of your brain, forms the conscious memory. Without this part, a person will be unable to form and retrieve all recently processed memories of explicit experiences. But they can acquire motor skills. So they can remember that, like, they remember how to ride a bike, but maybe they don't remember, like, learning how to ride a bike. So this is your habitual or subconscious memory. And the last one is the basal ganglia. This is, like, somewhere in between the F/PC and the hippocampus. And this processes the subconscious memory, so it helps you execute, like, your habitual memory.
Okay.
So the frontal and parietal cortices strategizes and plans to accomplish something in the future, while the hippocampus attempts to commit the plan to memory. In the case of the forgotten baby syndrome, the frontal and parietal cortices will plan to drop off the child at the daycare, and the hippocampus would remember that the child is in the car today and that you need to drop off the kid. So in between the planning and execution phase, there's a delay. So say the driving to the daycare, right? That's a delay. So then here the basal ganglia takes over because driving is something you can do subconsciously, and then you go into autopilot mode. In brain imaging studies, the basal ganglia was found to be activated while the hippocampus was suppressed during these kind of autopilot events. And the activation of the basal ganglia can be further enhanced by stress. So when the basal ganglia takes over during the delay phase, the caretaker may then forget that the child is in the car and just go to work as per usual. It's only when there is a cue that can reactivate the frontal cortices and the hippocampus that the intended work can be carried out. So the aforementioned factors of delay, distraction, multitasking, and stress, chronic stress and sleep deprivation would all negatively affect the frontal and parietal cortices and the hippocampus, but would promote the subconscious and habitual basal ganglia to work. So basically, the end of this would be we need to take steps to remember to do something, and this can be by not doing the 6 things, as in remembering the 6 factors that affect the failure of prospective memory to be executed. Yeah, so like Amanda already said, like she sets alarm throughout the day, and for me, like I usually use visual cues. Like let's say today I brought my laptop when I don't usually bring. I'll put my laptop like above my bag so that I'll remember to take my laptop first before I take my bag, that kind of thing. Yeah, so basically to do something that will help you remember to execute your task.
Yeah.
So in the case of the baby one, right, it's to maybe put your baby diaper at your passenger seat or to put a toy before you leave your car. And also, I think in the US, they try to make it more mandatory for the caregiver. So like, let's say the daycare teacher, right, to call the parents if the kid was not dropped off.
Right.
Yeah, which I think in Singapore, they do that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, not in secondary school. Like you never turn up for school, but like I think in primary school maybe.
Okay.
Which makes me feel like next time I need to inform my teacher. I mean my preschool, my baby's teacher, if I'm not dropping my kid off.
Which I think is a practice that people do, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to drop your kid off, you would tell the school or the daycare.
Right. Do I go into whether or not I'm convinced?
Oh yeah, sure.
Absolutely not.
So you still think they're irresponsible?
Severely irresponsible.
Wow.
But like you also forget to do things in a day.
But what I forget to do doesn't affect whether or not something remains alive.
Yeah, but it's like the same.
No?
It's similar, not the same.
As in, the circumstances are completely different in my mind. Like, I can forget to, like you said, go to a friend's party. I can forget to maybe clean up dishes or something, but I forgot to do it. But then I still have time to make up for it. I still have time to be like, oh, I'm sorry, let me make it up to you, like ask you out for some other time.
No, the thing is like the 6 factors, right? Like sometimes it's not controllable, but I feel like there has to be a baseline because you made the decision to like have the child.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like that parents should be not forgiven. Like these parents should not be forgiven, but I'm just saying they should still be held accountable though.
I don't think they should be, how do you say, like socially persecuted. Like people shouldn't be like, oh, you killed your baby, and then like, I don't think they deserve hate, but I still think they're very much responsible. And I still think that, like when you were saying when the twin daughters died, I'm like, it's sad, but I don't think I feel sad for him. I feel sad for the children. I feel sad for the circumstance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things with child rearing where I feel like there's a lack of intent. And I think that's a very irresponsible human behavior.
I probably won't sympathize with them, but I don't think I would hate them. But do you think science has enough reason to like not hold them?
Oh, like as in legally?
Yeah.
Legally, I'm like, okay, yeah. I feel like they shouldn't be.
I feel like they shouldn't be charged. Isn't losing your child like
enough, right? Enough of a punishment.
I mean, you still must prove that you didn't murder the child.
For sure. I think like a short thing for me is like, was it malicious? Was the intent there? And I think science can help with absolving them of that malicious intent.
Yeah.
And that's why there's science, like, to help.
It helps explain, but then you don't have the excuse.
You have to take the steps to prevent it.
Yeah, you have to take the steps. If you are willing to like find out why these things happen, then like you have to read the results and like take the steps to. So like you said, like have visual cues, have reminders. Because then what's the point of studying? Because if science is just there for you to explain something that happens and like for you to not do anything about it, then like what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about finding out why it happens, it's about like how we can do better.
I feel like for prospective parents or like
people who are already parents,
who are already parents, intent really matters. And I feel like, you know, you have this opportunity and this privilege of being a parent, that maybe we need to be a lot more conscientious about what we are doing and how we're raising a child.
Yeah.
And as usual, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify. Like and a comment would really help us.
You can also follow us on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and feel free to DM us any questions.
Alternatively, you can email us at thelabdoctors@gmail.com. We'll post all the article links in the episode description, so check that out if you're interested.
I realize like child rearing is just a very like controversial topic in my brain.
That's fine. I
just have a lot to say.
Oh.
That's true. That's true.
Bye.